simple, light footprint of infrastructure on the landscape creates this wonderful, embedded, cozy, neighbor-friendly type of farm. Next thing we're going to have is the producers. We're going to have producers who honor and respect the physiological distinctiveness of the animals and plants under their stewardship. What I mean by that is we're going to respect the pigness of the pig, the tomato-ness of the tomato. You know, there is nothing as assaultive against nature as this mechanistic view that we now have in our culture, that all of this wonderful life is just inanimate piles of protoplasmic structure to be manipulated however cleverly hubris can imagine to manipulate it. And I suggest that a culture that views its life from that type of arrogant, disrespectful, manipulative stance will soon view its citizens the same way, and other cultures the same way. If we're ever going to create respect and honor for the Tomness of Tom and the Maryness of Mary, it's going to start by respecting and honoring the pigness of the pig and the tomato of the tomato. That's where it's going to start. And so what's happened is that as our industrial agriculture has disrespected and dishonored these life forms, they have begun speaking back to us in these little Latin squiggly words that we've all learned to say in the last 20 years that weren't in the lexicon 30 years ago. I mean, anybody over 40 years never heard of these words. You know, words like Campylobacter, E. coli, Salmonella, Listeria, bovine spongiform encephalopathy. Where were those 50 years ago? Well, they didn't exist because we hadn't yet assaulted nature enough for nature to begin stepping up to bat and bat last. And so these are words, this is nature's language screaming to us saying, enough! But we're still dressed in our conquistador uniform. And we're not listening. You know, one of the offshoots of this is that these are farms that not only respect the pigness of the pig, but that operate on the theory of the terrain theory. You know, everybody's heard of Louis Pasteur, who advanced the germ theory. And of course, this was natural for humans, you know, for people to love the germ theory, because the germ theory, there's all these bad guys out there, and they're out to get us. We need to annihilate them before they annihilate us. It's a great victim type of mentality. Well, there was a contemporary in France of this famous man named Louis Pasteur. Contemporary means he lived at the same time. And he said, au contraire. He said, yes, those germs are out there, but what lets them get us is the immunological terrain. And he advanced the terrain theory. The terrain theory asks the question, not how can I annihilate the germ, but rather, how can I create a production, a lifestyle or a production model that builds a hedge of immunity so the germs can't get in. Now, our culture still worship at the altar of the germ theory. Nobody's ever heard of Michel Beauchamp. And you can tell that because we're, you know, if we had started endorsing the terrain theory, we wouldn't be giving mercury-laced H1N1 flu vaccines to our school kids. Instead, we'd be ripping out the high fructose corn syrup vending machines from our schools.